The shadow came without warning. It was 3:47 in the morning when the people of New York City first noticed that something was wrong with the sky. The stars had disappeared, not behind clouds, but behind something solid, something massive, something that blocked out the moon itself. Commander Zyrith stood on the bridge of his ship, the world ship that his people called the Eternal Judgment. He had conquered 11 planets in his career. He had brought entire civilizations to their knees with nothing more than a single broadcast. The small blue planet below him would be no different. "Begin the transmission," he ordered. His communications officer, a tall creature named Threx, pressed the controls. The message went out to every screen, every radio, every device on the planet Earth. It spoke in every human language at once. A feat of technology that should have terrified the primitive species below. "People of Earth," the message said, "you have 24 hours to surrender your planet unconditionally. Your weapons are primitive. Your defenses are meaningless. Resistance will result in planetary annihilation. You have been warned." Zyrith smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. He had given this speech many times before. The response was always the same: panic, fear, desperate attempts at negotiation. Within hours, the leaders of this world would be begging for mercy. He was wrong. In Washington, D.C., in a building called the Pentagon, General Kevin Marsh stared at the translated message on his screen. He was a big man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had served his country for 35 years. He had seen wars and disasters and things that would break most people. But he had never seen anything like this. Secretary of Defense Linda Perry stood next to him. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a sharper mind. She read the message twice, then looked at Kevin. "Wow," she said slowly. "That's very dramatic." Kevin made a sound that was almost a laugh. 24 hours? That is generous of them. Should we panic now or later? Let us see what the public does first. In a bunker deep beneath the mountains of Colorado, a young man named Danny Ortiz sat at his computer. His job was to watch social media for threats to national security. He had expected to see fear. He had expected to see chaos. What he saw instead made him choke on his coffee. "Sir," he called out, "you need to see this." Kevin's face appeared on his screen through a video call. "What is happening out there, son?" Danny did not know whether to laugh or cry. "Someone just posted a message that says, they gave us a whole day. We beat the British in less time than that, and they had boats. It has been shared 40,000 times in 10 minutes. Linda leaned into the frame. "Oh no, there is more," Danny continued. Someone else wrote, "Aliens show up at 3 a.m. like a drunk. Ex-boyfriend demanding attention." That one has 60,000 shares. Kevin rubbed his face with both hands. "So we are not panicking." "No, sir. We are making fun of them." Aboard the Eternal Judgment, Threx was having trouble understanding his instruments. The ship's computers were designed to analyze enemy communications. They were supposed to detect fear responses, track military movements, identify leaders who might surrender. Instead, they were picking up something that made no sense at all. "Commander," he said carefully, "the humans are responding to our message." Zyrith straightened in his chair. "Excellent. They wish to discuss their surrender?" "Not exactly, Commander." "Then what are they saying?" Threx hesitated. In his many years of service, he had never had to deliver a report like this. "They appear to be laughing at us." Zyrith's 4 eyes blinked one after another. "Laughing?" "Yes, Commander. They are creating images that mock our ship. They are writing messages that insult our appearance. One of their entertainment channels has begun showing a story about humans defeating an alien invasion. They seem to be celebrating. That is impossible. We have just threatened to destroy their entire world." "Yes, Commander. And they have responded by calling our ship a flying garbage can. Cyrus sat in silence for a long moment. In all his years of conquest, he had never encountered a species that reacted to certain death with humor. It was unnatural. It was disturbing. It was, if he was being honest, slightly insulting. Back on Earth, the sun was rising over the East Coast. People were waking up to the news that aliens had arrived and given humanity a deadline. The reaction should have been terror. Instead, it was something else entirely. In a small diner in Texas, an old woman named Betty Moore was eating her breakfast. The television on the wall was showing the alien ship. The news anchor was trying to look serious, but Betty could see the smile he was hiding. "Excuse me," Betty said to the waitress. "Can you turn that up?" The waitress, a young woman named Carla, grabbed the remote. "Can you believe this? Aliens, for real." "I believe it," Betty said. "I also believe they picked the wrong planet." Carla laughed. "What do you mean?" Betty pointed at the screen with her fork. "Look at that thing. Big and scary, right? You know what else is big and scary? My ex-husband after his third divorce. And I survived him just fine." The people in the diner started laughing. Someone raised their coffee cup in a toast. To surviving scary things. To surviving scary things. The others repeated. In New York City, a man named Jack Harper was walking to work. He stopped on the sidewalk and looked up at the massive shadow that still covered the sky. People around him were doing the same thing. Some were taking pictures with their phones. Some were waving at the ship. "Hey!" Someone shouted from a window above. "Go back to space, you ugly freaks!" More people started shouting. Not in fear, but in defiance. They were yelling insults at a ship that could destroy their entire planet. They were laughing in the face of death. Jack smiled and kept walking. He had a meeting at 9, and no alien invasion was going to make him late. Aboard the Eternal Judgment, Commander Cyrus watched the planet below with growing confusion. His instruments showed him millions of humans going about their normal lives. Going to work. Eating breakfast. Making jokes about their own destruction. "These creatures are insane," he muttered. Threx nodded slowly. "Yes, Commander. I believe they might be." Cyrus had given them 24 hours. He was beginning to wonder if that had been a mistake. Not because it was too short, but because it gave these strange, fearless creatures time to do something unexpected. He just did not know what that something might be. The clock was ticking. 24 hours had become 23. And somewhere on the planet below, humanity was just getting started. 8 hours had passed since the aliens arrived. 8 hours since they promised to destroy the Earth. And in those 8 hours, humanity had done something remarkable. They had turned the invasion into a joke. Aboard the Eternal Judgment, Communications Officer Threx was staring at his screens with a look of complete confusion. Data streams were pouring in from the planet below. Thousands of messages every second. And none of them made any sense. "Commander," he said, his voice shaking slightly, "I need to show you something." Cyrus walked over to the communications station. His 4 eyes scanned the screens. "What am I looking at?" The humans have created something they call memes. They are images with words on them. They are meant to be funny. And why should I care about their primitive humor? Threx pulled up an image on the main screen. It showed the Eternal Judgment with a sad face drawn on it. The words below said, "Came to destroy Earth. Got roasted instead." "This has been shared 4 million times," Threx said quietly. Cyrus stared at the image. His scales turned a pale shade of purple, which meant he was either confused or angry. Perhaps both. "They are mocking my ship." "Yes, Commander. There are thousands of these images. They compare our ship to a toilet, to something called a dumpster, to a creature called a Roomba, which I believe is a small cleaning robot. They think my warship looks like a cleaning robot? Apparently, Commander. On Earth, the meme war was in full swing. In every country, on every continent, people were creating new ways to insult the alien invaders. It was as if the entire planet had decided that if they were going to die, they were going to die laughing. In Boston, at a famous university called MIT. Professor Carla Hughes had gathered her students for an emergency meeting. Carla was a small woman with wild gray hair and glasses that were always falling down her nose. She had spent her life studying physics and mathematics. But today, she had a different mission. "All right, everyone," she said, standing in front of a whiteboard. "We have about 16 hours before the military asks us for real solutions. But first, I have a question." A nervous young man named Greg Peters raised his hand. "Are we going to calculate how to destroy the alien ship?" "Not yet, Greg. First, I want to know how many middle fingers we could display if every major landmark on Earth participated in a coordinated gesture." The room went silent. Then someone started laughing. Then everyone was laughing. "Dr. Hughes," Greg said, "is this really the time for jokes?" Carla looked at him with a smile. "Greg, if these are our last hours on Earth, I want those aliens to know exactly what we thought of them." Now, someone start doing the math. Meanwhile, in Kansas City, a retired pilot named Howard Bell was giving an interview to a news channel. Howard was 73 years old. His face was wrinkled and weathered from years of flying military jets. He had seen things that would scare most people. But he was not scared now. "Mr. Bell," the reporter asked, "are you afraid of the alien threat?" Howard laughed. It was a big, loud laugh that came from deep in his belly. "Son, I have been married 4 times. 4 times. You think some big, ugly spaceship scares me? My 3rd wife was scarier than that thing, and I survived her just fine." The reporter tried to stay serious, but failed. He started laughing too. "So you think we will survive this?" "Listen here," Howard said, leaning forward. "I have seen humanity do incredible things. We put a man on the moon with computers weaker than a calculator. We survived world wars and diseases and reality television. If you think some aliens are going to beat us, you do not know humans very well." The interview went viral within minutes. Soon, everyone was sharing it. Howard Bell became a symbol of human defiance. People started wearing T-shirts with his face on them. Someone even made a song using his words. Back on the Eternal Judgment, Commander Zyrith was trying to understand what was happening. He had conquered many planets. He had faced many enemies. But he had never faced an enemy like this. "Thrax," he said, "show me their military response." Thrax pulled up new data on the screens. "Their military forces are mobilizing, Commander." But that is not the interesting part. Then what is? While their soldiers prepare for battle, their civilians are organizing something called a live stream roast. Millions of humans are watching other humans insult us in real time. They are giving points based on creativity. Zyrith felt something he had not felt in many years. He felt unsure. "They are scoring their insults?" "Yes, Commander. The current leader is a human named Paula Kent. She has called our ship a metallic turd floating in God's fishbowl. The crowd seems to love it." On Earth, Paula Kent was standing on a stage in front of a live audience. She was a comedian, a woman who had spent her whole life making people laugh. Now, with the world possibly ending, she was doing the most important show of her career. "So the aliens say we have 24 hours, she said into the microphone. 24 hours? Do they not know that we waste 24 hours every week watching shows about people making cakes? This is nothing to us." The audience roared with laughter. "And did you see their ship? They traveled across the galaxy in something that looks like my grandma's old refrigerator." My grandma got rid of that thing in 1987 because it was too ugly. These aliens kept theirs. More laughter. Louder this time. Here is my message to the aliens, Paula continued, looking directly at the camera. You came to the wrong neighborhood. This is Earth. We survived dinosaurs, ice ages, and boy bands. We will survive you too. Aboard the Eternal Judgment, Xyrith watched the broadcast in silence. He had expected fear. He had expected begging. Instead, he got a small human woman calling his ship a refrigerator. They have no respect, he muttered. No, Commander, Threx agreed. They do not. Perhaps we should demonstrate our power. Show them what we can do. Threx nodded. A warning shot might remind them of the danger they face. Xyrith made his decision. He would show these foolish humans that their jokes meant nothing. He would remind them that death was coming. And then, surely, they would finally be afraid. He gave the order to fire. The clock showed 16 hours remaining. The aliens were about to make their first real move. And humanity was about to show them that jokes were just the beginning. The beam of light came down from the sky like the finger of an angry god. It struck a small, empty island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. For 1 second, the island existed. For the next second, it did not. There was only fire and smoke and the roar of destruction that could be heard for hundreds of miles. Commander Xyrith watched from his ship with satisfaction. That should do it, he thought. That should finally make them understand. He was wrong again. Within minutes of the attack, the humans responded. But it was not the response he expected. There was no panic. There was no crying. There was no begging for mercy. Instead, there was Paula Kent, the same comedian from before, appearing on screens around the world. Breaking news, she said, her voice dripping with fake concern. The aliens just blew up an island. An empty island. With no people on it. They missed Hawaii by about 2,000 miles. She paused for effect. 800 years of space travel, and they cannot aim. My Uncle Gary has better aim, and he is legally blind. The world laughed in living rooms and offices and bunkers. People watched and laughed. Not because they were not scared. They were terrified. But something strange was happening. The fear was being transformed into something else. Into defiance. Into unity. Into the most dangerous kind of courage. The kind that comes when you have nothing left to lose. In Moscow, President Volkov sat in his private office. He was a serious man who rarely smiled. But as he watched the human response to the alien attack, the corners of his mouth turned upward just a little. His phone rang. He answered it. President Volkov, said the voice on the other end. It was President Maria Santos of the United States. Are you watching the news? I am watching a woman make jokes about aliens who could kill us all. Wonderful, is it not? Volkov allowed himself a small laugh. Maria, my people have created something. A picture. It shows the alien commander as a sad potato. Would you like to see it? There was a pause. My people made the same picture. Great minds think alike. Perhaps we should work together on this. Our countries have not always been friends. But I think we can agree on one thing. That these aliens need to learn some respect? Exactly. I propose we release our best insults at the same time. A coordinated attack of humor. Maria Santos smiled in her own office, thousands of miles away. President Volkov, I never thought I would say this, but you have yourself a deal. Let us roast these aliens together. God bless this alliance. And so, at the first time in modern history, Russia and America worked together. Not on weapons. Not on politics. But on memes. It was beautiful in a way that no one could have predicted. Aboard the Eternal Judgment, Threx was having what could only be described as a mental breakdown. Commander, he said, his voice high and thin. They have hacked our external speakers. Zyrith turned quickly. What? How is that possible? I do not know, Commander. But they are playing something through our own ship's communication system. What are they playing? Threx pressed a button. A strange, catchy song filled the bridge. A human man with orange hair was singing about never giving someone up, never letting them down. What is this? Zyrith demanded. I looked it up, Commander. It is called getting rickrolled. It is apparently a form of humiliating prank that humans have been doing to each other for many years. They consider it very funny. Zyrith listened to the song for a full minute before he could speak again. Turn it off. I cannot, Commander. They have locked us out of our own systems. Our crew has been listening to this song for the past 40 minutes. Down in the engineering section of the ship, a dozen Valthrian soldiers were sitting in the corner with their heads in their hands. The song had been playing on repeat for so long that some of them were starting to hum along without realizing it. I think I understand the lyrics now, one of them said sadly. He's never going to give her up. Please stop talking, said another. Back on Earth, the meme war had reached new heights. Someone had made a video that showed the alien commander dancing to human pop music. Someone else had created a fake dating profile for the alien ship. It said, looking for a planet to destroy. Must have atmosphere and primitive inhabitants. No smokers, please. In the Pentagon bunker, General Kevin Marsh was watching all of this with a complicated expression on his face. Part of him was proud of his people. Part of him was worried that they were not taking this seriously enough. Sir, said Danny Ortiz, the young communications officer, I have something you need to see. More memes? No, sir. Something better. Danny pulled up a map of the world on the main screen. Red dots covered every continent. These are all the countries that have agreed to share military information. Every single one of them. Even countries that hate each other. They are all working together. Kevin stared at the map. Every country? Every country, sir. North Korea sent us their missile codes. Iran sent us their defense grid locations. Countries that have been enemies for centuries are suddenly best friends. All because of the aliens. Linda Perry walked over to look at the screen. Her eyes were wide with disbelief. The aliens threatened us, and we responded by becoming a united planet. That appears to be correct, ma'am. Kevin slowly sat down in his chair. Well, he said quietly, I guess we owe them a thank you card. In Moscow, President Volkov was on the phone again. This time with the leaders of China, France, Germany, and 12 other nations. They were planning something. Something big. Something that had never been attempted before. We agree then, Volkov said. If they attack, we launch everything. Not at their ship. At the space around their ship. We create a wall of nuclear fire that they cannot escape. It will not destroy them, said the Chinese leader. No, but it will trap them. And then we can negotiate. What about the radiation? The fallout on Earth? There was a long silence. Then President Maria Santos spoke. If we die fighting. That is the human way. One by one, every leader on the call said the same thing. Yes, they would rather die fighting than surrender without a battle. Commander, Zyrith did not know about this plan yet. He was still trying to turn off the song that had been playing for over an hour now. His crew was exhausted. Some of them were crying. The song had broken something inside them. Never gonna give you up, one soldier whispered in the corner. Never gonna let you down. Someone please make it stop, begged another. The clock showed 12 hours remaining. Half the time was gone. And humanity had not surrendered. They had not begged. They had not even stopped making jokes. Zyrith was beginning to understand something important. These humans were not afraid of death. They were afraid of dying without a fight. And that made them the most dangerous creatures he had ever faced. The next 12 hours would prove him right. 4 hours remained on the clock. 4 hours until the aliens would keep their promise and destroy the Earth. 4 hours until everything humanity had ever built, ever dreamed, ever loved would be turned to ash. And in those final 4 hours, the humans showed the universe what they were truly made of. Aboard the Eternal Judgment, the tactical officer approached Commander Zyrith with a trembling hand holding a datapad. His name was Gorvin, and he had served Zyrith for many years. He had never been afraid to deliver bad news before. But today was different. "Commander," he said, "we have detected something on the planet's surface." Zyrith did not look up from his own screen. He was still trying to understand how the humans had hacked his ship's speakers. The annoying song had finally stopped, but the damage was done. Half his crew was walking around in a daze, humming the melody without realizing it. "What have you detected?" Zyrith asked. "Every nuclear weapon on the planet has been activated. All of them. Every country. Every missile. Every bomb. They are all pointing at us." Now Zyrith looked up. His 4 eyes went wide. "All of them? At the same time?" "Yes, Commander. We count over 15,000 nuclear weapons aimed at our current position. Their weapons cannot hurt us. Our shields can withstand anything they throw at us." Gorvin swallowed hard. "That is true, Commander. However, I have run some calculations. If they launch all of these weapons at once, and they all explode near our ship at the same time, the combined energy would create a massive electromagnetic pulse. And it would disable our navigation systems for approximately 6 minutes. Zyrith leaned forward. 6 minutes? Why does that matter? Because in 6 minutes, we would drift into their sun, Commander. We would be pulled in by its gravity and burned alive. The bridge went silent. Every officer, every soldier, every crew member stopped what they were doing and stared at the tactical screen. 15,000 weapons, all aimed at them, all ready to fire. They would kill themselves, Zyrith said slowly. The radiation would poison their own planet. Millions of their own people would die. Yes, Commander. Just to take us with them? Yes, Commander. Zyrith stood up from his chair. He walked to the main window and looked down at the blue planet below. Such a small world. Such fragile creatures living on it. And yet they were willing to poison their own home just to hurt him. They are insane, he whispered. There is a human expression for this, Gorvin said quietly. They call it, if we are going down, we are taking you with us. On Earth, in the underground bunker beneath Colorado, General Kevin Marsh was on the phone with every military leader on the planet. It was the largest conference call in human history. Leaders from America, Russia, China, India, France, Britain, and dozens of other countries were all speaking at once. So we are agreed? Kevin asked. If they attack, we launch everything. The answers came back in many languages. Russian, Chinese, French, Arabic, Hindi, Spanish. But they all meant the same thing. Yes. If the aliens attacked, humanity would respond with every weapon it had. They would turn the sky into fire. They would sacrifice their own planet to take the invaders with them. It was madness. It was suicide. It was the most human thing imaginable. A young communications officer named Amy Price looked up from her station. She was 26 years old. She had joined the military to help people. Now she was watching humanity prepare for its final battle. Sir, she said, we are receiving a transmission from the alien ship. Kevin turned to look at her. What kind of transmission? They want to talk, sir. The room went quiet. After 20 hours of threats and destruction, the aliens wanted to talk. Kevin felt something he had not felt in a long time. He felt hope. Put it on the main screen, he ordered. Commander Zirith's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired. His scales had lost some of their color. His four eyes seemed less confident than they had been when this all started. "People of Earth," Zirith said, "we wish to discuss terms." Kevin leaned forward in his chair. A smile spread across his face. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of a man who knew he had won. "Oh, now you want to talk?" Kevin said. 20 hours ago, you were threatening to destroy us. What changed your mind?" Zirith hesitated. This was not how these conversations were supposed to go. The conquered species was supposed to be grateful. They were supposed to thank him for showing mercy. Instead, this human was laughing at him. "We have reconsidered our approach," Zirith said carefully. "Let me guess. You noticed all our nuclear weapons pointed at you. We noticed that you are willing to destroy yourselves to destroy us. This is unexpected behavior." Kevin laughed out loud. "Unexpected? Have you learned nothing about humans in the past 20 hours? We spent most of your deadline making fun of you. We hacked your ship to play annoying music. We turned your invasion into a meme. Did you really think we would surrender quietly?" In Moscow, President Volkov was watching the conversation on his own screen. He picked up his phone and called President Maria Santos. "Are you seeing this?" he asked. "I'm seeing it," Maria replied. "Our general is negotiating with aliens, and he is winning. Should we lower our weapons?" "Not yet. Let him finish." Back in the bunker, Kevin was continuing his speech. "Here is what is going to happen, Commander. You are going to leave our planet. You are going to go back to wherever you came from, and you are going to tell everyone in your empire that Earth is not to be touched, ever." Zirith's eyes narrowed. "And if we refuse? Then we launch everything. We might die, but so will you. And honestly, we are okay with that. We have a saying on Earth, live free or die. We meant it when we wrote it 200 years ago. We mean it now." There was a long silence. Zirith looked at his tactical officer. Gorvin shook his head slowly. The numbers did not lie. If the humans launched their weapons, the eternal judgment would not survive. "You are truly willing to die?" Zirith asked. "We are willing to fight," Kevin corrected him. "Whether we live or die depends on what you do next." Zirith sat back in his chair. He had conquered 11 planets. He had never lost a battle. But he had also never faced an enemy like this. An enemy that laughed at death. An enemy that joked in the face of destruction. An enemy that would burn their own world just to take him down. "We will leave," he said finally. Kevin nodded. "Smart choice. But I have one question first." "Go ahead. Why? Why did you not surrender? Why did you spend your final hours making jokes instead of preparing for death?" Kevin thought about this for a moment. Then he smiled. "Because that is who we are, Commander. We are the species that laughed at the end of the world. We are the species that made fun of death. We are the species that, when given 24 hours to live, spent most of it annoying our enemies. That is humanity. And honestly, I think it is the best thing about us." Zirith stared at the human for a long time. Then he turned to his crew. "Set a course away from this planet," he ordered. "We are leaving." The clock showed 3 hours remaining, but it no longer mattered. The aliens were going home, and humanity had won without firing a single shot. The Eternal Judgment left Earth orbit at hour 20-3. Commander. Zirith stood at the window of his ship and watched the blue planet grow smaller and smaller behind them. He had come to conquer a world. He was leaving with nothing but questions and a headache that would not go away. His crew was silent. The ship was quiet. Somewhere in the engine room, a soldier was still humming that terrible song. Zirith tried to ignore it. "Commander, Threx said from his station. "Shall I record your report for the High Council?" Xyrath nodded slowly. He had been thinking about what to say for the past hour. How do you explain to your superiors that you were defeated by jokes? How do you tell them that a primitive species laughed in your face and you ran away? "Begin recording," he said. Threx pressed a button. A small light turned on, showing that the message was being recorded. Xyrath took a deep breath. "This is Commander Xyrath of the world ship Eternal Judgment. I am submitting my report on the planet known as Earth, located in the Sol system. My recommendation is as follows. Do not return. Do not contact. Do not engage." He paused, trying to find the right words. "The humans are not like other species we have conquered. They do not react to threats the way normal creatures do. When we told them they had 24 hours to surrender, they spent those hours making fun of us. When we destroyed one of their islands as a warning, they laughed and said we missed. When we tried to intimidate them with our technology, they hacked our ship and played annoying music for hours." Behind him, someone coughed. It might have been a laugh. Xyrath chose to ignore it. "The humans are willing to die," he continued. "This is not unusual. Many species are willing to die. But the humans are willing to die while laughing. They are willing to destroy their own planet just to take their enemies with them. They do not negotiate out of fear. They negotiate out of stubborn pride. And if you push them too far, they will burn everything down, including themselves, just to prove a point." He turned to look at the planet one last time. It was just a small dot now, barely visible among the stars. "My final assessment is this. The humans cannot be conquered. They cannot be intimidated. They cannot be predicted. They are chaos wrapped in skin, held together by coffee and spite. Leave them alone. The universe will be safer that way." He nodded at Threx. "End recording." Threx pressed the button. The light turned off. The message would be sent to the High Council within the hour. Xyrath did not know what they would think of it. He did not care. He was just happy to be leaving this insane planet behind. Back on Earth, the sun was rising over Washington, D.C. The shadow that had covered the sky for 24 hours was finally gone. People were coming out of their homes, looking up at the clear sky, hardly believing that it was over dot in Times Square. A crowd had gathered to watch the alien ship leave. When it finally disappeared from sight, the crowd erupted in cheers. People were hugging strangers. They were crying and laughing at the same time. They were waving flags and singing songs and celebrating the fact that they were still alive. 1 year later, the anniversary of First Contact Day became an international holiday. Not because humanity had survived. Not because they had driven off an alien threat. But because, for one glorious day, the entire world had agreed on something. If the universe wanted to threaten Earth, Earth would talk back. In Chicago, an old woman named Betty Moore sat in her living room, watching the anniversary celebration on television. Her grandson, a little boy named Sam, sat beside her on the couch. He was eating popcorn and watching the parade with wide eyes. "Grandma," Sam said, "were you scared when the aliens came?" Betty smiled and patted his hand gently. "Honey, I survived the 1980s. A little spaceship was not going to ruin my day." "What are the 80s?" "A very strange time, sweetheart. Very strange indeed." On the television, they were showing clips from that famous day. Paula Kent doing her comedy routine. Howard Bell giving his interview. The moment when General Kevin Marsh told the alien commander to leave. Every clip brought back memories of fear and laughter and impossible hope. "Grandma," Sam asked, "do you think the aliens will ever come back?" Betty thought about this for a moment. Then she shook her head. "No, honey. I do not think they will." "Why not?" "Because they learned something important that day. They learned that humans are not easy prey. We are stubborn and loud, and we do not know when to quit. We make jokes when we should be crying. We fight when we should be running. We are not sensible creatures, Sam, but we are survivors." Sam nodded, even though he did not fully understand. He would understand someday. When he was older, he would look back on this day and realize what it meant. He would understand that humanity's greatest weapon was not nuclear bombs or missiles or technology. It was something much simpler. It was the refusal to be afraid. Somewhere in the depths of space, a Valtharian scout ship was passing through a distant sector. Its crew was young and curious. They had heard stories about the failed invasion of Earth, but they did not believe them. How could a primitive species defeat the mighty Valtharian Empire? "Sir," said the pilot, "I am picking up a transmission from the Sol system." "What kind of transmission?" "It appears to be a celebration of some kind. The humans are playing music and showing images from their victory over Commander Zyrith." The captain leaned forward to look at the screen. He saw humans dancing in the streets. He saw fireworks lighting up the sky. He saw signs that said things like, "Earth 1, Alien 0, and we survived the deadline." "They are still celebrating?" he asked. "It has been a year." "Yes, sir. They seem to celebrate everything. They have holidays for everything. This is just another one." The captain watched for a moment longer. Then he turned to his navigation officer. "Change course," he ordered. "Take us around the Sol system." "The long way around." "Sir? That will add 3 weeks to our journey." "I do not care. Those creatures are insane. I am not taking any chances." The scout ship changed direction, moving away from Earth as fast as its engines could carry it. The crew did not complain. They had all heard the stories. They all knew what the humans had done. Better safe than sorry. On Earth, the celebration continued long into the night. People danced and sang and told stories about the day the aliens came. They remembered the fear and the jokes and the moment when the whole world came together. They remembered that they had faced death and laughed in its face. And somewhere, watching from a quiet corner of the universe, other species took note. They added Earth to their list of places to avoid. They told their children stories about the crazy humans who could not be conquered. They warned their soldiers and their leaders and their scientists, "Do not go to Earth. Do not threaten the humans. They do not play by the rules. They do not know when to give up. And if you push them too far, they will burn everything down just to prove a point." Humanity had sent a message to the stars that day. It was not a message of peace. It was not a message of war. It was something simpler and more powerful than either. It was a message that said, "We are here. We are not afraid. And if you come for us, you better be ready for a fight." The universe had received the message, loud and clear. And the universe decided to leave humanity alone. For now.